Right, a very good morning. It's just coming up to 5 minutes past 3. And look, it's pitch black. This is how I love it. All right, so in winter, when I used to go to the gym before I inherited my sister, this is what I used to leave to get the tram. I think it was 14 minutes past 6 in the morning. And it used to look like this. And I used to love it. That's the one thing I like about winter. It gets dark early, so there are less likely to be people out and about on the road. Right, so there you go. I'm walking. Right, so this video is going to be quite long because the carer's not due to come until 5:30. So I can walk for an hour if I want to. Right, let me go past this man. There's a guy standing at the bus stop. Good morning.
Alright.
You see some people go to work early. There's another one cycling. So it's only people who are productive who are going to be on the road this time in the morning. Right, so I'm not going to say I went to bed too early because that's the time that I needed to sleep. And then I woke up and it was just after 1. And I thought, bloody hell, what am I going to do for, the next few hours? Because I know I wasn't going to get back to sleep because I had slept deeply. So I was looking around on Facebook to see if there was anything interesting going on. And I didn't see anything interesting sort of from an intellectual perspective, but I did see a few things that were interesting as regards I guess the level that people are on when they don't. All right, well, I don't know any better. All right, so you're kind of making it up as you go along. Look, I can talk loud. There's nobody around. No traffic. So you're not going to hear any noise in this. Normally you hear the traffic in this video. You won't hear it on this one. Yay. Yeah, so like there was one video I talked yesterday about children, about, the only evidence I've seen for having children is not so much that they are there to amuse the parents, but it's about giving them some kind of meaning. So there's one video that I saw a few days ago, and one of my Facebook friends shared it. So I saw that, and it's a mother screeching in the background because, all right, it's a young baby, and the father is lying on the father's chest, and the father kisses. I don't like to call it, he or she. And then he or she, very young baby, kisses the father back, and the mother, oh my gosh. I'm thinking, oh my gosh. I used to think that my worst nightmare would be a girl's night out, given the way I feel about women. But I think if I was a mother, my worst nightmare would be to be part of a mother and babies group, or a mother and toddlers group. I just wouldn't be able to do it. Right, so, and that's my thought anyway. So, why am I out on the road this time in the morning? People on that level, when I say on that level, I'm talking about the level of some of the comments that I was reading, would say vanity, would say obsession, but I'm going to tell you why I'm on the road this time of night. Why am I talking about time of night? This ungodly hour in the morning, when only productive people are out and about. In terms of traveling, going somewhere, they start work early or they're coming home from work, so they're not in the mind to create mischief. Right, so I'm out because again, before I inherited my sister and I was back at my place, living in splendid isolation, occasionally I would be working from time to time, and I would have sudden need to sleep would come over me, and I grew to recognize that that was God wanting to have a word with me. So last night it was my intention to work. Once I rested, and once my sister went to bed, I was gonna do some light work to get ahead, because today is the day that I go back to work. Wednesday. 2 weeks went just like that. So I didn't end up working. I went to bed because God wanted to have a one-to-one with me. Right, so I was posting on Facebook passages, paragraphs from my patriarchal blessing. Google what a patriarchal blessing is. But if you want to go old school, it is what the patriarchs used to give to their children and grandchildren. So the most, for me, the one that stands to mind that springs to mind is the blessing that Jacob gave to Ephraim and Manasseh. Those were, Joseph, his favorite son, 2 sons. Right, so, you can do the research. I don't need to sort of go into details on that. So I'm going to tell you the story of my patriarchal blessing. When I was back at my place, I kept it underneath my pillow because, again, like I said, when God wanted to have an audience with me, I would feel sleepy and I would retire to bed. And when he was finished, I would then get back up and go to work. So I kept it under my pillow. But because my sister got ill suddenly and very quickly, when I say quickly, she sort of degenerated very quickly to the point where she couldn't look after herself. I left in a hurry. Don't like the idea that you can see the shadow. I left in a hurry, so I left everything as was, a bit like the Marie Celeste. You know, that ship where it looked like everybody had been spirited away, like they were in the middle of having a banquet or something, and then there was no one on board the ship. So it was a bit like that for me, where I left in a hurry. And in leaving in a hurry, I left my patriarchal blessing under my pillow. And because, my landlord wouldn't have known what it was. And alright, so I'm just going to jump forward. I'm going to cut out sort of like my thoughts on whatever, or how the move happened. But I've been at my sister's place for 2 years, and patriarchal blessing has been on my mind from time to time as lost, because I'm thinking it's only a document in a plastic cover, and it could easily get thrown out because I didn't do my packing. My landlord's sister did that for me, God bless her, and I'm sure he will for her kindness. My landlord too. Yes, I considered it lost because it's only a piece of paper. It was last Thursday when the delivery guys, the removal guys came. I was downstairs, sort of supervising, because I wanted to make sure my saxophone was there. It wasn't. It's a long story. But in the end, all right, so basically this is what was going on. It was a bit of a farce, because my sister can't walk, do anything for herself. So like if she needs to go to the toilet, I have to take her. So I was getting her up and sorting her out at the time when I received a text message from the driver to say they've arrived and they're down by the garage. Now I know how long it was going to take me to sort my sister out, so I left her sitting on the toilet. I don't mean to disrespect her in any way by saying this, but I'm just giving you an insight into my life. Right, so I left her sitting on the toilet and went downstairs to open the garage. But then I ended up staying a little bit longer than I planned to, which was a good thing, because as they were unpacking, I'm standing there thinking, where's my saxophone, where's my saxophone, where's my saxophone? And speaking of which, I'm just coming up to the shop where I got my other saxophone from. So here we are, it's a music shop I walk past. See, music shop. I got my music stand from here. It's a really good music stand as well, so I know the quality of their products are really good. So that's why I go in there when I need anything. Right, so, the top of the range type thing. Anyways, so I digress slightly there. So I was standing there sort of like, where's my saxophone, where's my saxophone, where's my saxophone? And my saxophone wasn't there. I still haven't got it back. Well, but I'm not going to chase it. I've just considered it lost in the same way that I'd considered my patriarchal blessing lost. Anyways, while I'm standing there waiting for my saxophone, my precious saxophone, there were three, the guy who owns the company plus two others helping him. So one of them took a box out, and there, folded in, it's not, my patriarchal blessing is typed out on an A4 sheet, and as I said, it's in a plastic protective folder. There, tucked in the corner of the box, was my patriarchal blessing. So I grabbed it I just literally saw it and just grabbed it. And so basically, had I been upstairs with my sister, and had I not left her on the toilet, they would have packed it into the garage, and I wouldn't have been any the wiser, because it probably would have gone somewhere towards the back where everything is packed up. So you see, sometimes there are other things that are more important than attending to the sick, if you know what I mean. When I say attending to the sick, I'm talking in terms of, see, I've walked further already. I'm thinking in terms of everybody thinks that my sister should be my main focus, even though none of them are bothering to help. If you go through my videos for the last 2 years, you will see what I've had to say. You will see the saga as it developed. Now I'm in traffic. I'm going to turn around, I think. Right, so there are people who are compassionate, I say in inverted commas, who feel sensitively, more so than I do, towards people who are sick and disadvantaged, and yet they do nothing to help them. So, all right, basically for me, that morning, my sister was an inconvenience. Actually, it was sort of like late morning. They turned up earlier than expected, so they really got the job done quickly, the packing, and driving from South Norwood to South Croydon, they did it in record time. Actually, it was that morning, it was that Thursday that I resigned from this gym. So had that demonic woman not come in the pool to disrupt my program, I would have got back after them, right? So even they turn up at the property later than they were supposed to, because I'd said to them 11:45, and when I spoke to the main guy, the owner of the company, he said, "Oh, I thought it was like 1:45." So they got there a bit later than they should have. So you see, so everything worked out how it worked out. But doesn't it make a better story that I tell you that I was down there, scouting at my saxophone, watching them unpack, having left my sister on the toilet. She can't get up unless I go and get her up. And it turns out that hello little foxes, had I not done that, had I said, "Oh, I can't come down, you guys sort it out," whatever, or just left them, open the garage, or even given them the key or whatever to do it, and race back up to my sister, I wouldn't be any the wiser that my patriarchal blessing was not lost. Right, so that is the whole point of, not necessarily the whole point of the video. It's about, well, basically what I'm talking about is about what is important. And so obviously the patriarchal blessing is more important than my sister. And it may sound like a horrible thing to say, but my sister also has a patriarchal blessing. I can tell you for nothing. I don't know what's in hers because they are private or... All right, so we are told when we receive them not to show them to people or broadcast them or anything. But the thing is, in this short, it's what, 6 days now, I realized pretty soon after retrieving it that I needed the hard copy. Because even though I've got like a photographic memory and I can remember what's written in it, I needed the hard copy because you can look at it and see that it's an old document. I received it when I was 18 years old, when I was nowhere near that point in my development. I was still shy. And some of the things that are written within it that God wanted me to do. So for example, study the scriptures and store them in your memory for future use in the callings that you will have. That was something that I needed to do. Right? If I didn't actually study independently, embark on study the scriptures cover to cover multiple times and store them in my memory. I haven't read the Bible for, I picked up the Bible physically for, I'm gonna say, close to 10 years, if not 10 years. Maybe even more than 10 years. Because the whole point was study and store them in your memory for future use in the callings that you will have. Right, so, like I said, I'm not throwing my sister under the bus, but I've come out walking so I can go at any pace because the objective is, it's about the weight on my ankles rather than the speed. I'm not power walking basically. I'm moving in ankle weights, and I'm getting a good workout here. So my sister, in other words, had the same opportunity as me, but it is where people put their focus. So she focused more on serving her employers, the work thing. If you're like Mary and Martha, look that up as well. So basically, I focus more on spiritual things. And good morning. To her mind, to other people around her who respect her or respected her more than they respected me. Not that I need anyone to respect me, I'm just saying that's how it's always been. She was viewed as a spiritual one. And obviously I have a love for clubbing and the partying and all of that. So I was viewed as the sinner, right, which is kind of funny. Anyways, as I said, we had equal opportunity. She too has matriarchal blessing, but I don't know what she's done about doing the things that hers instructed her to do. On my part, when I first received it, as I said, I was 18 and I was still shy, so I'm not naturally extrovert. But I realized there were certain things that I would need to do that would require me to open my mouth and to speak publicly and to, well, as some of you know, I go clubbing by myself. I've got a long history of that from when I was in my 20s. Anything I want to do, see, I'm out on the road at gone 3 o'clock in the morning. There's nobody out here except me and those two gentlemen that I wished good morning to. And I'm not afraid. Right, so I have had a long history of practicing self-development. Healthy mind, healthy body, healthy spirit. Right, so I have come to understand, as I said, I felt tired last night. So when I say tired, I mean sleepy. And I did sleep, but I recognized that God wanted to have an audience with me. Because I'd been posting on Facebook, and the theme has been twofold for the last couple of weeks. Firstly, it started off with women, and now it's gone on to marriage. Sort of like duties of not so much of a wife, but obviously what a woman needs to be, what she needs to bring to the household, etc. So I only go with the inspiration that I receive, and from time to time people will talk to me and they will help to provide me with an anecdote. So it's not like I'm chucking people under the bus or anything. I work with the material that has been provided to me, because I've been saying for years that the Bible is a book that talks people's business for good or for ill. So you learn from the good examples, and you repeat them, and you learn from the bad and know to avoid embarking. Like, for example, one of the better examples is King David. As much as God loved him, he had free will, and the worst part of it was that he sent the woman's husband to his death to cover up their affair, right? So that's sort of like he walked into that knowingly, because he embarked on a path. He went down a certain path, and it led him to that point where he needed to cover up as he supposed. You can't go backwards. You can't sort of like, it's not like a film where you can do different takes. You mess up the scene and you can do it again. It is what it is. So the best thing is to sort of develop a relationship with God. For me, that didn't come easy. It's a long story that I'll go into some other time. Develop a relationship with God and stick with it. I'm not going to go into how people have treated me over the years, but I understand full well why I've been left in this situation with my sister. There isn't a soul, I'm not going to say a soul on earth, but there's nobody who knows us, whether it be family, friend, her work colleagues, whatever. Not a single one of them can tell me anything, because not only have they not helped her, but in fact, from what I hear, some of them criticize me. So it's not just not helping her, but having the audacity still to criticize me. But this is the story of my life. But you see, God has a history of letting people do their worst and then he humiliates them. I think we're already at that point where there are people who will never be able to look me in the eye. And most certainly not my sister, my sister was a respecter of persons. I don't know if she still is, because the thing is that when she recovers, who knows if she's going to return to her ways. But I personally treat everybody equally. You get the treatment you deserve, because some people would say, no, you don't. You're horrible to me. That's because you deserve horrible. If you don't deserve me to be nice to you, I'm not going to be nice. So everybody gets the same treatment from me. I don't regard people based on their status, the job they do, the position they hold in the church or anything like that. I don't have that kind of regard for anybody. I just treat everybody equally. And so, I'm out here now. I'm not afraid. There's some guy just there in his car shouting something at me. So I'm gonna sort of switch slightly and go back to the marriage thing. Right, so I've had my little plan, because, God told me back then when I received my patriarchal blessing, in the blessing, that I would marry, and it would happen because he would bless me. Therefore, I know, again, it's not like I'm treating people, I'm a snub or whatever, but I know for a fact that with guys, so like this one, he doesn't know me from anywhere, but he's seen me walking on the street, he sticks his head out of the window and he wants to talk to me. And it's like, do you know what it will take for you to be my equal? Right, so here he is turning, so you might get to hear some of the conversation if he's going to pull up next to me. Right, let's see. Yes, good morning.
I thought I knew you so straight.
It's all right. I'm very well, thank you. Huh? What am I up to tonight? But I'm not the person you think I was. Have a good morning. Do you see what I mean? They think it's that easy. So, it's a bit like you have done nothing. You've sown nothing, but you're going to the field, to the next man's field, to pluck up his crop. You didn't help him sow nothing. You just come to the party and you want to go and dig in another man's yard. Well, that's probably a rubbish example, but you know what I mean. And that's typical. That's typical what you're doing tonight. It's not even morning yet and you're asking me what am I doing tonight and I don't know you from anywhere. Right, so typically, obviously if God is going to bless me with a husband, then he will need to give me somebody at my level. And when I say at my level, people think, oh, you think whatever. No, if my level was really low, if I had really poor standards, then that's what I deserve. You see what I mean? So you deserve what your level is. But as we know, many people, women in particular, they don't. I made this comment elsewhere. It could have been in conversation with somebody. Obviously, the main topic has been about the gym. So I've got people asking me which gym am I going to join? I said I'm not joining any gym. I don't need to be a member of any gym, right? Like I said, I only joined to use the sauna for my hair, and then I took advantage of the pool because it was there and available. I don't need to be a member of a gym. So you got these women And as I said, some of them have been there 20, 30, 40 years. And they're proud to announce it. And I said, and I likened it to church, 20, 30. I've been a member of the church for. But what good is it doing you? I haven't been to church for nearly 20 years. What good is going to church doing you? What good is going to the gym doing you? Because what are the results? What are the fruits? Do you see what I mean? So on my part now, I'm a soloist basically. And when I say I'm a soloist, I mean I can travel at my own speed. I can set my own pace. When I was at church, when it started to get really bad, when I say really bad, it's like I was getting nothing out of it. It was draining me. It was reducing me, if you like. And one of the church leaders said to me that I need to slow down and wait for others to catch up. And I'm thinking, are you kidding me? You know, at that point, because you're supposed to listen to your leaders, are you kidding me? I need to slow down and wait for others to catch up when they're not interested in improving themselves. It's for them, it's a social club. And that's a fact. You know, we mustn't judge. It was a fact. It's a social club. In the same way that when the fat ladies congregate in the deep end of the swimming pool, and instead of exercising, they're chatting, that's a social club. Right? When I was in the shallow end doing my exercises, I was there to do my exercises and I got on with it. I didn't, I wasn't there to have, all right, sometimes people would come and talk to me and disrupt my flow, but I wasn't there for that. I was there to exercise. When I was in the pool, I was specifically in there to exercise, nothing else, not to socialize. Same thing with church. I wasn't there to socialize unless it was a social activity. I was there to do what I was there to do. So a long story short and sort of bouncing out of that, when we're out here, I sent a message to one of my friends who's going to be watching this. Hi, Jay. Right, so the message was that I said no groups. But I said you're never doing anything solo, because he swims and he was going to a swimming group and that he started, and also going to a church group. He didn't start that. But then presumably, I don't want to sort of like put words in his mouth, but I would say presumably it got toxic, right? Because that's what happens when there are groups of people, in particular groups of women, that meet together regularly. It can become toxic, and it usually tends to. So the message I sent to him was no groups, just, solo. But I said, when you're doing things solo, you're never doing it alone if God is with you. So basically, I'm out here walking, and I don't think there are people who will watch this video and be thinking, oh my gosh, she's out on the road at 3:00 in the morning. Isn't she afraid something will happen? No. Again, the Bible. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Right? So I say from time to time, it's energy that you carry. Right? Because it's a spiritual thing. People will approach you. You see that guy just pulled up in the car and think, oh my gosh, he's going to kidnap me. Right? Because I have confidence in my spiritual energy. I know how to handle myself spiritually. So I don't walk around scared. I don't live my life scared. There's one more thing I'm going to say before I wind up. I'm going to start heading back shortly. I want to say, the other day my friend asked me, where do I see my life with my sister in it? Which was a very interesting question, and a pertinent question, actually. And it's like, I don't see my life through the perspective of having my sister on board. I see my life as the life that God had planned out for me before I inherited my sister, before she got sick. I don't see my sister as my problem. As you know, I need to think, oh, what am I going to do? There are things that I will do if I am in a position to do it. But I'm not in a position to do anything to do what I would do for her, which is to get someone to look after her full time, given that, and it sounds terrible, but we're not on the same level of understanding because I don't do sickness. Yesterday there was some guy at the train station trying to recruit people to donate to an Alzheimer's charity. And it's sort of like, I don't even do sickness. Do you think I don't acknowledge Alzheimer's? I don't acknowledge any of these things. I acknowledge God. And he's a young guy. When I say young, he couldn't have been no more than 31. Right, could have been a young 31. And I know he didn't know what he's talking about. It's just information that they've provided him with and told him to go out there and be their salesman. So I did initially I did my journey. I came out the station and he tried to talk to me and I told him I don't give money to charity. I don't, the medical profession isn't my healthcare provider, etc. And then on the way back, he said, can I talk now? And he gave me their sales pitch. And he backed off when I said I will not give them 1 pence of my money. Because I maintain that I don't give money to charity. Ultimately, I look to God for everything. And, these 2 years with my sister, actually it's more than 2 years now. But the thing is, I don't believe my sister did everything she could to have the best outcomes. In fact, I know she didn't, right? Because there were times, like, I've always had an exercise program. I do what I do. And she was just more about work and coming home. But I sort of was always acting up on whatever inspiration God gave me. That was always my thing. And, people would frown upon it. Like I said, people look at me like I'm ridiculous. Look at this old woman trying to stay young. And I'm thinking, this old woman, all I'm doing, I don't even acknowledge age, as you know. All I'm doing is I'm living close to God and making sure that I position myself in the right spot. A bit like a long distance race or a middle distance race. And you got people jockeying for positions, and at the bell they're in a good spot, and then when they're coming into the home stretch, it's the one who's got the bigger kick, right? So for me, the bell has already sounded and I'm just waiting to get on that bend, right? Because the whole point about it is it's about, like I said, it's spiritual warfare. And when the time comes and it's the final kick, I back myself, right? Because I have been doing everything that I can. In fact, look, I'm here with my sister, and everybody listening to this video or who will listen to it in the future would not sort of like be out on the road this time of night getting in exercise, unless it's their habit, right? I've always exercised from I was a teenager. From I was 15 years old, I was following an exercise program. So this is not anything that I'm doing now to stave off the ravages of time. It is what I do. And having inherited my sister, I've figured out ways that I can do the things that I need to do in order to stay on track with what God has in store for my present life, my future life, if you get my drift, right? So there are no excuses. You find ways. So like I said, my sister's in bed, and I'm just gonna sort of like terminate here because this is coming up to 40 minutes now. Not that I'm watching the time, but she had choices, I had choices. The people that she clung to, not one of them have done anything for her. My friends are the ones who still back me. They backed me before she got sick, and they're still backing me. they've not deserted me. They're just simple people. And you got to know, you've got to recognize the value in people, really. And like, I like to keep things simple. And I think I don't know, I think God has I don't think I know, God has a soft spot for me based on certain experiences that I've had in my life and continue to have, like the time when I used to have really, really bad, what they call stage fright. And I was supposed to sing. It's a long story. I'm not sure if I've done a video on that before, but I might sometime. But the night before I was due to sing at church, he took away my voice, and I promised him that if he gave it back to me, I would never be afraid to use it again. And so by degrees, I discovered karaoke. And I used karaoke to overcome my stage fright. And that's it. You see, so sometimes things will happen, and it's an opportunity. It's not like, oh, well, I can't sing because I've lost my voice. I'd committed, and I just asked God to give me back my voice, and then I made that promise. If you give it back to me, I promise I won't be afraid to use it again. So now I'm done walking, and I'm heading back in. So I hope you get something out of this video, because that's the other thing that I was supposed to do. I was supposed to become a teacher or whatever. I don't take that thing upon myself, but if God wants you to do that, then that's what he wants you to do. But it's not because I'm doing this for my ego or anything. It's how I've evolved. It's what he wanted me to do. So these videos that I'm doing, I guess they serve that purpose. Anyways, look after yourselves, take care, and have a good morning. Take care, bye-bye.